Field of 68 After Dark.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Field of 68 After Dark, literally and figuratively. Got some great guests here today. My man, Norm Roberts, first time on with us. Coach, great to have you, as always, and one of the greatest to ever do it in a Wake Forest jersey, Randolph. Childress, I'm merely Dalen Cuff. Fellas, let's get right into it. Game of the night, the only major game. We had a top 10 clash. Purdue wins 87-80 down in Tuscaloosa. Trey Coppin-Wren's first game of the season. He goes for 19 and 15. Braden Smith, 29 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and Purdue outlasts and deservedly gets a huge win on the road against Alabama. Coach, I'll let you take the first shot, if you will. What were your thoughts as you watched Purdue pull away at the end there?
Well, I will tell you one thing. Braden Smith proved that he is the number one point guard in the country. He controlled that game from minute one. He controlled the tempo, and that's very hard to do against an Alabama team that plays so fast. I thought he was going to need to score tonight in order for them to win, and obviously he needed to. They did a great job on Lawyer. He wasn't able to get off many looks, and I know one thing, they're happy Ren is back because he was terrific.
Randolph, you muted, my man. I think we lost Randolph's mic, so we'll check in on that. Coach, I'm right there with you. I thought Braden Smith was dynamic, to say the least, man, and in that environment, too, late in that game, they knew exactly who they were going to play through. And that was the difference. At Alabama, at times, in key moments, you got Williamson shooting threes. You got Allen running through, shooting one-foot runners at times. Alabama's still trying to find itself and figure things out. Purdue's continuity, I think, came to roost here. And then having Coffin run in that game, obviously don't win it without him. Like the physicality, they punked the Crimson Tide. 52-28 in the boards, 19 offensive rebounds. They really couldn't clip. The best way to get going offensively for Alabama is to run. We know that. Well, you got to rebound the ball first and foremost. They really couldn't do it. And again, credit to Purdue. They were just more physical than them, had the two best players on the floor, and they both showed out. Randolph, you back in here? We got your mic.
Y'all try. That's Dagan trying to take me out, man. That's all it is.
Don't silence him.
He's trying to take me out. No, you guys are going again. I missed you the last segment of it. But when you came to me, I was surprised that they dominated them so much on the glass. You know, when you play against Alabama in the way that they play, they're going to take threes, they're going to make threes, but you can't put them on the free throw line, and you can't give them twos, you can't give them layups. I thought, Purdue did a great job. Their game plan was solid. Obviously, give them threes, they're going to take them anyway, but they controlled the paint, man, dominated the game. Only gave up 10 free throws for the game, and you just had the feeling that they were going to win the game. They were in control the whole way. I thought Alabama had its spurts and its moments, but I didn't think for a second the way Braden Smith was controlling the game that they'd ever lose it.
Coach, in terms of how they guarded some of the ball screen stuff, and at times they were playing drop coverage, and they blitzed a couple in the middle of the second half, which he turned one over. I thought they were going to keep doing that. Then they switched. Like, how do you feel about the ball screen coverages? It's so hard because he's already seen them all and he's handled them all so well. But how do you feel about how they covered him, particularly in that middle pick and roll, which is almost what they did exclusively down the stretch?
Well, I think what happened, both teams were playing drop coverage. They both thought that was going to be good for them. And then both teams' guards started snaking that drop coverage and then getting to the basket or dropping it off. I thought the biggest key in the game, with about 6 minutes left, Purdue went back to their high ball screen, hook action, screen the big guy into a ball screen, which allowed Ren to get the short rolls and then let him be the playmaker and take it out of Braden's hands a little bit because they were trapped.
Yeah, they led it to one wide open three and then a layup. I mean, that was that little spurt he had. And he was playing through some issues. I mean, right after that, he came out of the game. He was kind of dragging that left leg. He had the thorough gun on him. He was trying to work on something, but he played through it. RC, what did you think of how they tried defensively to manage Smith and Ren in that pick and roll action?
I mean, you couldn't necessarily stop it. I think that the game plan, both teams were just trying to say, hey, we're going to control the other guys. And it was no different than, same thing we talked about with Alabama. It's like, hey, we're going to give them threes. We can't stop from getting threes. I think they did a good job with everyone else. It was like, hey, we're going to single up everyone else with Kaufman Ren inside, try to make it tough for him. Braden Smith, chase him over the screens. You can't do anything because you're trying to match up. Because if you start trying to help too much, then big man, Clough's going to run down the lane. He's going to beat you up on the glass. You didn't want Fletcher Loyer getting going from behind the 3-point line. So, it was just a high-level game, man. It was a hell of a game. Both teams played well. I just think that the biggest difference is Purdue just controlled the paint. They dominated the glass and controlled the paint. When they needed to get one stop, they did rebound the ball. I thought they just manned the paint. Just the physicality was a little too much for Alabama.
One thing I thought they could have done, Dalen, I thought they could have stayed with the trap. I thought if they trapped and then clogged the hole and make Cox or somebody else try to go score, and maybe that would have took Purdue out of their rhythm. But once they went back to their high ball screen stuff and started feeding it to the short roll guy, it spread out the whole court, and now it's really hard to guard because you're either going to give up a layup for him, a lob to the other big, or a pass to the corner three. That's very, very hard to guard.
Yeah, I thought they were going to try to continue to blitz. At least if they had that success in back-to-back possessions, I thought they might continue to do it. But it's not easy to do that and get your guys set and make them blitz them and then have guys rotating properly. And again, this is a team that's being put together in different ways. I will show you one possession I thought was really interesting too is when Amari Allen a freshman got matched up on Smith, and looked like it was kind of intentional. It shows great coaching. Painter ran away, took Smith off the ball. He runs it off a staggered out of the corner. And you guys remember this. Anytime I had a freshman like the beginning of the season, I'm like, this is great. Like, you're going to get an open look, especially coming off like down screen. He lost him right away. You're trailing him by 15 feet. He's yelling help. He comes right around that, bangs a three. And that every time there was a moment where Alabama's crowd got into it and you seemed like the momentum was changing, there was an execution. They executed in some way, in some form by some of those key guys, usually Smith ball in his hands, or get an offensive rebound and keeping that possession alive. It was pretty clinical, especially on the road. When you guys watch him play, RC, obviously we'd just seen them play against Oakland last week without TKR, and they didn't particularly look great. We heard about the Kentucky, and then you saw the Kentucky exhibition. There were questions there. Are all questions kind of answered with Purdue, given the fact they just went in there and beat Alabama on their floor?
I think they showed you why they were number one. And I think some of the execution that they run, it makes it really hard because you don't know what they're going to do. Like, they run inside ball screens. We're talking about that. But the play you're talking about, they run the pin down dribble handoff, and Braden Smith gets the ball in the middle of the lane. So you can't down it, right? Yeah. So you're talking about one of the best coaches in college basketball, man. So you can't predict what they're going to do. You just got to go out there with a philosophy of, hey, if they're on the side, we're going to blitz it. But you can't blitz a dribble handoff, in the sense of after a pin down. You're just so vulnerable when you do that because after that, they're pinning down for the other guy as well. So, unless you were prepared to give someone else an open look, they make it really hard. Both coaches do that, man. This was a high-level game. I think it's probably the best game that I've seen so far this year.
Without a doubt. The continuity, the way they played, the way they stayed focused defensively and offensively, that was a Final Four type game. That was a NCAA tournament game with a high-level atmosphere. I thought it was terrific. The one thing I will say is Oakland makes everybody play ugly when you play them because Oakland's style of Campy, his style of play is to play that 1-3-1 matchup zone, run around, chase you. So now you just got to kind of play out of how they're guarding you. You can't really run sets against it. All those things. They didn't have Ren, so you knew it was going to be a tough game for them. Because Purdue wants to play inside out. They don't want to play shooting all threes. I know they shot a lot of threes early on, but that's not really their style. They want to play inside with Ren.
Let's slip into the conversation with Alabama because obviously they probably had the best win of the year prior to what we just saw tonight. We go on the road to Madison Square Garden. You beat St. John's. They controlled that game a lot, and they made plays. Baron Filan was outstanding. In this game, those guards struggled a little bit at times, and there were some issues. When you look at Alabama's situation, Coach, we'll start with you. Just your thoughts on some things that I hate that we're concerned so early in the year, but like you watch what just happened in Madison Square Garden, you watch tonight. Where do you think this team is at in terms of its development?
I think they're going to be terrific. I think they're very fast. They can score from all three levels. They have to get an inside presence. They need to get a guy that can score with his back to the basket and make a play in close. I will tell you this, playing against St. John's and Alabama, St. John's tried to play like Alabama. And that's a fast pace up and down. And Purdue was not going to play that way. So those guards went into the game tonight thinking, well, God, we scored so easily against St. John's and quick and out on the perimeter, where Purdue sat down, guarded them, made them go deep into the shot clock to get shots. It was a totally different game. Totally different.
Sorrell and those guys can't get lobs. They weren't going to get, Purdue just kept everything in front, so they were going to take away lobs. And they rely on that. They rely on you having a tag. They spread out for three. You don't go out, you outside the tag, they throw in lobs. That's where their inside baskets come from, their style of play. They just don't throw it in a post. That's just not what they do. They spread it out. They just try. It's a track meet with them. And the problem is Purdue did a great job of just making them one-dimensional. Like, hey, we're going to live and die. Usually, if a team makes 10 threes at the halftime, they're blowing you out. I don't know the last time I've seen the team have 10 threes and still be losing at the half. And they were right at, 16 threes is pretty normal for them. They probably going to need to make 20 because this is a contrast of styles, right? One team wants to play inside and out with traditional bigs. Ren is, Trey Kaufman isn't a tall guy, but he plays like a big. His best attributes is his back to the basket, but it was a great game. Purdue just controlled the tempo. Their philosophy won. They just said, hey, if you're going to make threes, you're going to have to make 20-plus threes to beat us. They only made 16. Hell of a game. I'm pretty sure somewhere down the line, I'd say, I wouldn't mind seeing these two play again.
Yeah. I mean, how you survived that first half is 10 offensive rebounds for Purdue, too. Like the physicality again of the game, especially in the first half, was huge. I think Purdue's defense in the second half got better. In the first half, I think they gave up a lot of those threes at times. Guys were ball watching at times. Guys were relocating. We weren't staying with guys relocating. I think they were more locked into ball you man and able to close out a little bit better, make them take more contested threes than wide open ones that they had in the first half, and they converted them. Impressive to say the least. And Alabama's schedule, guys, as you know, Illinois next week. That's on Wednesday. Gonzaga, UNLV, Clemson, UTSA, Arizona. It is a murderer's row that they're about to play. So and this is NATO's MO right now is to play the hardest schedule in the country, and I love it. And I'm glad him and Painter painted a home and home to give us this chance to watch this on a campus venue in back-to-back years. That's awesome. But Coach, when you think about his schedule, it's so challenging. I know he wants to know where his team is at. Is there any downside to playing something this challenging for a team like Alabama?
I don't think so. Because, being at Kansas for the years that I was there, we've had one of the toughest schedules every single year, and Kansas has got another one this year. I think you want to see where your team's at. You want to see what you need to work on, how you need to get better. By playing games where you're winning by 30, you're getting your bench out there. Those guys are getting to play some, but you're really not seeing what your team is. And I think going into these games now, Nate Oates is going to go back and say, hey, guys, we got to do a better job, obviously, on ball screens. We got to do a better job rebounding, taking care of the basketball. We got to make sure we can get a good shot, maybe getting to the basket rather than taking long threes. So he'll have things he can talk to his team about that will help them improve, and they'll play better and better as the year goes on.
I'll say this, guys. I think that, again, and I'm not talking about job security, but I think there's a tremendous amount of pressure and expectations on both of these programs because of how great they've been. Like, I don't know if there's two other coaches in the game right now that has more pressure on them to win a national championship because of their greatness and how great a coach they are, and two, the teams that they're in. We can talk about, you can look across the country and you can say some other programs, but these teams are national championship good, but they're also like, we end up saying this question with Purdue is, how many years can they be there? And they find a way they're there every year, it feels like. But the same thing with Alabama. They've been number one seed overall in the tournament. Nate Oates has done everything imaginable, collection of talent, having all these NBA guys and everything else. There's, at some point, he wants to get a national championship done. And so he's right. Scheduling these games gets it that way, but, not for job security. But I think these two programs and these two coaches in particular, with the great teams that they have and have today, have expectations of winning a national championship and the pressure of winning one, because you just don't have that all the time. We thought it was over for Purdue when you lose a two-time National Player of the Year in Zach Edey, and then they're right back here as the best team in college basketball right now. And maybe Houston will have an argument about that, but right now I don't think anybody will argue Purdue is the number one seed after this, number one team rather, after this win tonight.
That's the only other team I'd put into that category you just put there is Kelvin and Houston with obviously how last year ended and with the period of his career that he is in. I'm sure he doesn't necessarily feel the pressure, but I'm sure that man wants to win that one, and he was right there.
I would add him to that. He's finally got the collection to do it. I agree with you on that. I would add him to that as well.
Last thing before
there'd be a couple of guys. There'd be a couple of guys you can add, but I think they all want to win it bad. You got to calibrate.
No. I think let me be clear. I think they all want to win it, but I'm saying, do they have I think we all would agree that these teams have national championship talent this year to win it. Not that the others aren't and don't have the expectation to. I think these guys have retention. They have experience. They have depth. They got great players. And they've been knocking on that door. They've been right there. I'm not saying there's other coaches that don't want to win it or aren't capable of winning it. We know Bill. I mean, I'm just saying as far as guys that have not won one that we consider. If you make up a list of your top 5 coaches in the country or top 10, both of these guys are on it. They've been right there. They have talent. They have all these things. I'm just saying you don't always have a national championship caliber team. And I think it's fair to say that both of these teams have it. And you don't get this very often.
Yeah, windows are small.
And I think go, Coach.
Yeah, windows are small. I totally agree. And I after watching this Purdue team tonight, I like them a lot. I think they're really, really good. I think they need to get something from Cox. I need to get something from Harris. I was really impressed with Jacobson. I thought the speed of the game and the athleticism would really bother Jacobson, and he looked pretty good out there, especially in that drop coverage. I mean, you're 7'4", 7'3", protecting that rim. That's hard for those guards to get in there, even though they snake ball screen and get in the lane. That's hard to score over the top of that. Really hard. So
the length of those guys was great. No, the length of those guys they were still able to keep the ball in front and then take away the lob. I thought Mayer was good. His minutes when Smith was out of the game, he came in and he, a couple of times he looked shaky. I thought he was going to turn it over like, the pressure's bothering him. He comes right back, hit a couple of shots. It's like, hey, I got this. So I was really impressed with him, particularly in those minutes when they had to take Braden Smith out of the game.
Yeah, Smith, remember, he picked up his third foul, I think, with 18 minutes to go in the second half. And Paint rode with them, and he was fine. He controlled it. At times they put Meyer in there too. But yeah, the first half was big. You're trying to maintain a presence in the game, and you're looking at a freshman that hasn't been in that environment before. I thought he gave good minutes, and I thought, of course, as arguably the best point guard in the country, he handled his foul trouble really well. I don't think Alabama exploited that very much or tried to attack him, particularly off the bounce, to put him in a risky spot. He almost did try to take a charge again which may have been his 4th foul, because he got his 3rd foul trying to pick up a charge. In my head, I'm like, dude, you play Olay. You get out of the way. You just let that 2 go. You are too valuable to take that. Love your effort, but get the hell out the way. And on that,
I know this. If Mayer played over in Israel, that's where he's from. He's played in some tough environments. I don't think he was worried about Alabama.
No doubt.
That's a good point. All right, guys, we got to hit a break here. When we come back, we're going to put Coach Roberts on the hot seat. It seems like Randolph's got a lot of questions. He's just firing away questions after the break.
As you know by now, we have teamed up with BetMGM again this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we will have special offers for Field of 68 fans, including same-game parlays, best-in-class live betting, and daily odds boost. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app. You sign up using bonus code FIELD. You deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. Make this college basketball season one for the history books. Make it legendary. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. With media days and on-site events the last 2 months, travel for me has been crazy. Luckily, I had Huel. This month, Huel launched in Target stores nationwide. Both of their ready-to-drink products are now available. The Black Edition has 35 grams of protein, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, no artificial sweeteners, and is gluten-free for under $5 a meal. The Daily Greens Edition, which I have here peach hibiscus flavored, was developed by registered nutritionists and dietitians with 42 vitamins and minerals and superfoods, with just 25 calories, 4 grams of fiber, and only 1 gram of sugar. When you're busy with work, travel, children, and just life in general, Huel makes sneaking in meals quick, easy, and most importantly, healthy. Pick them up in Target stores nationwide, or if you're a first-time customer, get 15% off your purchase with the promo code F68 at Huel. That's HUEL.com/F68.
Welcome back to Field of 68 After Dark, presented by BetMGM, alongside Norm Roberts, Randolph, Childress. I'm Dalen Cuff. Coach Roberts' his first time here with the crew of Field of 68, retiring after an outstanding coaching career, head coach, successful there. Then, of course, your latest job was at Kansas, helping Bill Self get to and win some national championships in that esteemed program. Whenever, RC, and we have this text chain to take people behind the curtain here, the text chain of, here's what we're going to do, here's what we're going to talk about. RC played role of producer, started firing off questions. So I'm going to step out the way, and I'm going to let RC just inquire about what you want to get to, Randolph. Let's chat it up with Coach.
Remember, we're friends, RC.
We lost RC's mic again. We lost our.
Yeah,
all right,
good.
RC, we lost your mic again. I'm going. I'm retaking the conch shell. Here we go, like Lord of the Flies.
Okay.
All right, Coach. This was the first thing he asked, and I think it's a question most of us asked. I wanted to know too. Why choose to retire now?
I think it was one of those things where I just kind of felt like it was time. Wanted to spend a little bit more time with my family. I'm not going to lie, I am getting up in age. I turned 60 this year. And I also saw that I'm a people person, and I think the game is changing a little bit from that. It's becoming more transactional and those things, and I just felt that, hey, let me let the young guys do it and take care of it, and this is probably the best time for me to go.
I don't know if we have RC back yet. Do we? All right, no RC. So let me follow up on that then, too, Coach. I think that's interesting.
I'm here. It's their fault. I'm here. It's a question I have for you is, this is the year of the freshmen, right? Darren Peterson. I know you're not there to coach him, but you were around when you guys were recruiting him.
Mm-hmm.
Is he? To hear Bill say, as many great freshmen, as many great players as you guys have had, to hear Bill say he's as talented as the most talented one he's ever seen. What's your thoughts on that, and how good is he? Is he as good as we think he are and what we've seen from him?
He is as good, and he's a stud. He's a guy that this is what makes him so good. Is not only is he a phenomenal athlete, unbelievably skilled player, but he's also extremely cerebral. He's got a very, very good basketball IQ. So he knows how to beat you in different ways. And that's what I think Coach means by he's the most ready freshman that he's ever had. Because he can do so many things. He can score off the bounce. He makes other guys better. I actually think one of the things that's so good about him is that he can be an unbelievable defender. He can get in passing lanes. He knows how to guard the ball. He's got great length. He's a tremendous player.
Coach, how do you think he will? We've only seen it a couple games already, and he missed the last outing. We saw him on the road at Carolina, tough environment, tough game, and obviously the Heels won that game. But being the guy at Kansas, and as a freshman, it's not an easy thing to do. The eyes of that program commands a lot of attention nationally. How do you think he will handle that type of the emotional, mental piece of it for the season?
I think he'll be fine because he's so much more mature than his age. And, he's been a star since he was an eighth grader. So dealing with hype and expectations, that doesn't bother him and everything. And I remember Coach had told me, he spoke to him before the Louisville exhibition game. And he said to him, just messing with him, he said, hey, man, I don't know if you can do it when the lights are on. I don't know if you'll really be able to do it when it's tough. And Darren looked at him and said, don't worry about that, Coach. I like the lights. No problem. Like that. So that's kind of how he is. He's low key. A lot of times people think he's too quiet. Well, he's got to talk more as a point guard. He knows that. But that guy, sometimes the most dangerous guy in the room is the quietest guy in the room. And I'm telling you, he is dangerous. He's good, really good.
Talking about Kansas too, and talking about Bill, and I'm not asking you to speak for him, but he's had some health issues and in the past, and you've had to fill in for him. Like you, he's an old school coach, and how he coaches the game as well. If you had to predict how much longer you think Bill would coach, do you have an idea? If would it be health related? Will he at some point get tired of this transactional relationship as well? Like, what's your, if you had to guess, what would you think Bill's time at Kansas will be?
I would probably guess maybe 3 to 4 more years. I don't know if he'll do it much longer than that. But I do know this, because of the scares that he's had, he's in so much better shape now. I mean, he's lost 35 pounds. He looks great. He's exercising every day. He's eating right, all those things. So he's doing really well. Great energy right now.
That's awesome to hear. That's great. And one of the best guys in the game, best coaches of all time, obviously. So him having it in full health and being able to do his thing is outstanding. Guys, do we have Trey Kaufman? Is he in the building? There he is. What's up, Trey Kaufman? Purdue. Preseason first team All-American. Showed why, man. You had 19 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists in your first game of the season. How are you feeling physically right now after a hell of a win on the road? But it's your first game. You logged a lot of minutes. How you feeling?
Tired. Really tired, to be honest with you. Obviously, they're an up and down team. They play really fast, and I was hoping I didn't get my first game back from injury against a team like that. Really good team, really well coached. So I was tired. I cramped up there at the end, but I had enough. I had enough to win the game.
Trey, the physicality of the game. I know they went up and down and they played at a faster pace, but you guys took advantage of the physicality. Did you guys sense that you guys knew you had an advantage over those guys? And I know you didn't foresee dominating them on the glass the way you did, but I thought your physicality overwhelmed those guys at time. And when did you feel as though that was going to be an issue for those guys?
In practice, the 2 days before, we had done a really poor job at Kentucky, and then the previous 2 games that we played were being physical. So I knew when I came back that was going to be one of the biggest things that I had to bring. Getting in that, obviously, that starting role, being a bigger four, being able to come out of halftime and be up on the rebounds instead of down by 10. Was really big. So that was just an emphasis on this game and the games going forward. That's our advantage. So we got to take that.
Did you have any
Trey,
second guessing of when Big Oscar came in? Did you have any thought about when Big Oscar came back, how you guys are going to play together? Because that affects you now. He plays inside. It kicks you outside a little bit more. Was any concerns about you playing with another center like that?
No, not as much. Not as much. I mean, we had Caleb last year, so I knew we could get to the kind of the same actions that we did last year with Brady and I in the short roll and different types of things. So I wasn't as concerned. But obviously, everything comes at a cost. What we don't have in spacing, sometimes we make up for in rebounding and defense. So it depends on how we want to play.
hey Trey, there was a point in the second half, the last 7 or 8 minutes. I think you guys came out of a timeout, and then coach went back to the short roll action with you in the middle, and you made a couple of great plays. Was that something that you guys talked about doing?
No doubt, that's been harped on this entire summer. So that was the thing about last year is we didn't have, we had a guard starting at the 4, Cam, or we had Caleb. Well, now when we have 7-footers there, it allows that lob threat, which makes them help down, and now we have shooters, so it just gives me more options to pass from that area. So I think they kind of just wanted to get in the short roll action. I have my floater, I have my layup. They take that away. It's a read from there.
Trey, you guys have now beaten this team 3 years in a row, and sometimes Alabama way they play and how they play can overrun teams they haven't seen them before. How important was it? How much, if at all, did that impact today's game that you guys have had not just experience but success against these guys, and particularly yourself too? Last year, you're 26, had success against these guys in previous years.
Oh, I'm back. Say, can you restate the question?
Sometimes Alabama can overrun teams when they haven't seen them before, haven't played them before. Not only you guys played them, you've beat them the last 2 years. You had a monster game last year. You had 26 and a big win at West Lafayette. How, if at all, did your experience playing and beating this team impact tonight's game?
I mean, we know their coach, we know their style, their concept. So I think that really helps. But anytime you can, when you play a team 3 times in a row, it's really difficult. Obviously, Marquette got us last year on the same thing. So I think our guys did a really good job toughing it out today.
All right, my man. We appreciate your time after a great win. It was a hell of a performance. 87-80. Enjoy that trip back to West Lafayette. Imagine that plane ride is going to be pretty fun, my man.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Congrats.
Is there anything better than the post-victory trip home? Like that's the stuff I miss right there. That's gonna be a fun plane ride.
Yeah, no one happens. Yeah, it is better than the alternative. There's no doubt about that.
Well, then you feel like you're in a morgue. So it's not really a fun. There's no middle ground.
You don't want to talk. Nobody wants to talk. You just get on the bus. Everybody quiet. You get to have a little bit more fun on a win like that, man. That's a big time win. There's no doubt about that. I think now it's hard to argue what you just saw.
What usually happens is you get on that bus and you start eating, and you eat way too much food, and then all you're going to do is go to sleep anyway. After a win like that, a loss, everybody stays up. Nobody eats, and everybody stays up.
You can't do anything. You feel like you breathe the wrong way as a player. You feel like you breathe the wrong way. You're like, we're going to pay for this tomorrow. That's not. And I definitely did way more losing than you guys did in college. So I consider myself a seasoned veteran at that experience. He mentioned that there too. It was their experience, but also, Coach, you talk about how they're playing in that short roll late, their execution late. They're one of the few teams in college basketball that that's the same crew, that they're building it the way we used to do it. Coach, when you see that, because you said we talked about why you retired, because things have become more transactional. I mean, I imagine some coaches may be a little envious of what Paint has right there, because it still seems like you're building these long 4-year relationships.
It's very hard to keep players. It's very hard to, and people don't realize how hard this is. It's hard to bring in 7, 8, sometimes 12 new guys, and in 3 months to 4 months, get them to play cohesive and to understand what you're doing. Nevertheless, teaching them your culture, what you do on a daily basis, all that stuff, that takes time. So a lot of times, the Braden Smith and then Fletcher Lawyer, those guys have been around since freshmen. It's old hat to them. Like that place going nuts didn't bother them at all. They've been in those type of games. They know how to rely on each other. Trey Kaufman Wren, they know each other so well, and then they can help those younger guys get through it, and be productive. It's so much harder now to get a team together the way you want, especially this early. Really, really hard.
I mean,
RC,
those two guys
let me ask you a question about that, because you had an experience, like obviously, with Tim and your guys' team, like you guys had massive expectations, but you guys coming back in an era where guys started to leave early. It was a big deal that Tim came back for his last year. I remember watching that. It was a big deal. Mm-hmm. Now, when you guys come in with that type of, how do you feel from the expectation? Obviously, you have expectations yourself, but that when you have these pieces come back and everybody thinks you should be like X, and we already saw them struggle in Oakland. Obviously, TKR didn't play. We saw the Kentucky exhibition. How did some of those things impact them if it's not going as well as everybody, including yourselves, expects it to be when you return?
Well, one is disappointing because, again, when you have this, and that's why I made the comment I made earlier. this is a national championship caliber team. There's a difference in when you're good and you feel like you're going to make the tournament. We can go through a list of teams we think can make a tournament, can win a game or two. We do that all the time. But Purdue is going to, just like it took time to match the production and replace Zach Edey, but now you got Braden Smith. It takes guys, Trey Kaufman Wren in there. These guys are all part of that nucleus of guys, that championship DNA. And when you lose that piece by piece, it's different every year. And you brought up the example of like Tim and I. I didn't play with Tim his junior and senior year. I played with him as a freshman. As his freshman and sophomore year. So I was there as far as his jump. And then when I left, it was on Rutland and those guys to try to win a championship, and they were unable to do it. I was a big part of that, and I moved on, going to the NBA. So when you lose guys, it's hard to replace. So it's just so important when you have the opportunity to do it and win it, you have to. I used Duke as an example last year. We were talking about Duke being in the national championship or winning it in the summer last year. We knew they were that good. And they're good this year. But not everybody is just screaming like, hey, no one thinks that they are better this year than they were last year, as far as the expectations. Some of that could be Cooper Flag or whatever it is. But managing the expectations is one thing. And I think that's the most impressive thing about this win today. You go in Alabama and win. And we talked about those two guys were the only guys who scored in double figures. And they go in and get this win. So they were just dominant. And that's what you want from your players. And when they get production from their other role players, Purdue's going to be a tough out.
Yeah, no doubt. Quick, yes, no answer. Coach, you go first. Best win of the year so far of any team?
Yes. I think it's either that one or it's the Arizona win, over Florida, I would say, when you look at two. But that one, that was in a hostile environment. They're coming at you. They're coming off a great win. That place is going nuts. One guy's coming back after being hurt. I think that's probably the best win so far.
RC?
I think it is too. I think it is. I don't think it's close. A true road game, not a neutral site game. You go on a road in an environment like that and get that win. That validated everything everyone thought.
And Trey Kaufman said it in his first performance, to play in a game like that, in an environment like that, in the style they play, and to put up the numbers he did. That was a hell of a showing. All right, we got to hit a break here. We come back. We will preview the weekend. Got a good weekend coming your way. We'll preview it coming up next here on Philly 68.
As you know by now, we have teamed up with BetMGM again this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we will have special offers for Field of 68 fans, including same-game parlays, best-in-class live betting, and daily odds boost. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app, you sign up using bonus code FIELD, you deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. Make this college basketball season one for the history books. Make it legendary. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. If you're not a member of the Field of 68's On3 community, make sure to go check us out. Get access to all of Jeff Goodman and Rob Doster's written content, including coaching carousel breakdowns, info on who is and isn't entering the transfer portal, insider recruiting information from none other than Joe Tipton, X's and O's analysis of all the teams in college basketball, and access to our message board community. A 7-day trial costs you $1. The Field of 68 on 3. Get the scoop.
Are you trying to follow everything happening in college basketball? It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for recruiting news, game analysis, portal updates, and much, much more. For just $50 a year, you get access to the same information that your favorite coaching staff is subscribed to. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help. Make sure you subscribe today.
With media days and on-site events the last 2 months, travel for me has been crazy. Luckily, I had Huel. This month, Huel launched in Target stores nationwide. Both of their ready-to-drink products are now available. The Black Edition has 35 grams of protein, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, no artificial sweeteners, and is gluten-free for under $5 a meal. The Daily Greens Edition, which I have here peach hibiscus flavored, was developed by registered nutritionists and dietitians with 42 vitamins and minerals and superfoods, with just 25 calories, 4 grams of fiber, and only 1 gram of sugar. When you're busy with work, travel, children, and just life in general, Huel makes sneaking in meals quick, easy, and most importantly, healthy. Pick them up in Target stores nationwide, or if you're a first-time customer, get 15% off your purchase with the promo code F68 at Huel. That's HUEL.com/F68.
What's up? Welcome back into Field of 68, presented by BetMGM. Last segment of the show here, we're going to preview the upcoming weekend. Norm Roberts, Randolph Childress, myself, Dalen Cuff. I'll start with Friday night, 10 o'clock Eastern tip. You can see it on Peacock. Number 5, Arizona taking on UCLA. Coach, we'll go to you first. When you look at this matchup, obviously Coa Pete in Arizona, as you already said, had one of the wins of the year over Florida. That freshman had an outstanding performance. Mick Cronin's had some – Mick Cronin, I shouldn't say has been really pleased with the Bruins, but he's not usually pleased, but hasn't been particularly pleased with their performances early in the year. What are your thoughts on that game?
Mick Cronin is the grouchiest guy in the country. Everybody knows that with him. He's the best guy, but he's the grouchiest person I've ever seen. I would tell you this, it's going to be very similar to Alabama playing against Purdue. Different styles of play. UCLA plays at a slower pace. They're going to be more physical. Now they've got great guard play with Donovan Dent. He can really get in the lane. He can score. He can create for others. I think it's going to be a big key is going to be front lines, how they play against each other, because Arizona's got a great front line with Coa Pete and Krivas and that size they have there, and UCLA has a very good front line there too. So it's going to be a game where if Arizona can get up and down and play fast, I think they've got the advantage in the game.
I think we got to see first if Donovan Dent's going to be healthy. He missed the last game with a muscle strain, so let's see if he comes back and actually plays in this game. Because if he doesn't, then I think UCLA, the Bruins, are in trouble. I think if he doesn't play, yes. I know Sky Clark can fill the void, but he's a different guy. He's an All-American type of player, and I think it'd be difficult in this matchup without him. Jaden Bradley's playing so well at that position as well, so I hope he's healthy because I want to see that matchup. And with him, it's like Bradley made his reputation early in his career as a really good defender, and he is. Now he's scoring, and he's scoring at an efficient level. How well can he play at both ends of the floor? It's going to be how well this Arizona team is. But I think you're right. It's a contrast of styles, just like the game we just watched. Arizona wants to get up and down, and the Bruins are going to need to control tempo and pace. And having a guy like Donovan Dent healthy will go a long way. And I hadn't heard anything whether he's playing or, is he healthy enough or not yet.
Yeah, I mean,
Jaden Bradley.
Go ahead, Coach.
Jaden Bradley was a scorer. You know this, Randall.
Yes.
He was a scorer in high school. That's what he did. He scored and everything. So him doing what he's doing early on this year is really nothing new to him. That's something that he's always done.
Yeah, I mean, the pace piece is obviously huge. One team's one of the fastest teams in the country. One's one of the slowest, and how they want to play. I'm interested to see Coa Pete. It's like his on-court performance in a big stage and a big-time game. I thought Krivas and them did a good job of affecting Florida's guards. Now that their guards have been a little inefficient, but affecting their guards around the basket. I mean, whether they blocked a lot of shots, they altered a lot of shots, and how they protect the rim, I think, will be interesting. But Coa Pete's on-court performance, I'm very intrigued in. And I think, obviously, a great game. It'll be kind of a semi-home game for UCLA. They're playing in the Intuit Dome, so it's in L.A. I imagine there's still going to be a lot of Arizona fans there in that building. That's a huge contingent of Wildcat fans out there in L.A., so should be an awesome game. Let's go to the neutral site game. Real quick, I'm happy all the matchups are happening, but the on-campus element here is necessary, I feel like. And also, scheduling against – tonight was good. We had NFL, but there was nothing else on. This is it. So, you're watching the NFL, you're watching this game, and you're watching a great – that was a great showcase for college basketball because of the environment too. And that's why I think I love that they play the games, but I would love that as many as we can get on campus venues, I think do make a difference. The next one's a big one, but it is also neutral site too. UConn, number 3 in the nation, taking on BYU. AJ DeBonsa and crew were down to the Blue Hens of Delaware the other day, and they battled back and won that game at home in the Marriott Center. But that we played the Boston Garden. RC, I'll start with you on that game. When you look at UConn-BYU, what do you think?
The pace of that game, it wouldn't surprise me if both going to be around 100 points this game. Neither one is going to slow down. It should be a fun game. UConn looks like they're ready for another run, like they're poised for another run. But again, they haven't been tested, right? You can say BYU has been tested. They were down late against Villanova.
Hold on. But you're telling me beating Columbia by 30 at home is not being tested? What the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about, RC? It's egregious.
Don't be disrespectful.
Well, let me say this. Let me.
I watched that beating in person.
Yeah. They will not beat BYU by 30. Okay, can I say that? Is that fair assessment? We'll say that. It'd be a little closer than a 30-point game. So we're going to find out if UConn is as good as we think they are. All the pieces are there. Can they take a step defensively? I thought that was the biggest drop they've had off in recent years. Can they get back to defending the way Dan Hurley wants those guys to defend? They'll score points, but can they get back to defending? And they're going to be against a really good team in BYU.
I think it's going to be a situation. One is Rob Wright and AJ DeBanza are kind of coming home. Mm-hmm. How they handle that as young guys is going to be very, very important for their team. I think that UConn is back to being UConn. And I think Hurley really likes his team. He's about as grumpy as Mick Cronin, but he really likes his team. And he's going to, Carabon is going to be very important. Solomon Ball, the way they can shoot the ball. But the one thing I think UConn will try to do, especially in Boston, they're going to try to punch him in the mouth. They're going to try to be physical. They're going to be, very, very physical with AJ. They're going to try to keep Rob Wright out of the lane. It's going to be a really, really physical, athletic battle. But I think the key to the game is going to be the big kid Keita for BYU. He is a freak athlete, a freak. Mm-hmm. Block shots, lob catcher, all those things. How him and Taris Reed go at each other at the center position will be really interesting to see.
The physicality, but the edge he gives those guys. He won that game against Florida. I felt like Keita was outstanding down the stretch, causing turnovers, offensive rebounds, lob threat. Like he gives those guys a lot in an emotional energy, and he will bring it no matter what. So I'm interested to see how they match that. You make a point with Danny in the defense. And I was joking, but watching the beginning of that Columbia game, Columbia hung around for the first 10 minutes because those guys didn't show up to guard. Then Danny got in their ass, and after the second media timeout, and the whole game was different. But this is those dudes. They have to reestablish what his DNA is as a coach is on the defensive end. And it's the toughness of physicality and being connected for 40 minutes. So I'm interested to see, particularly with Silas Demery, how he battles over screens, how he's going to just the effort, the nonstop effort that needs to be displayed by your lead guard. Yes, other guys behind him have done it on a high level, won championships. Ball, Caravan, they know what that's about. But that they need to reestablish that, I think, early in the game, and kind of show who they are. I will say I don't know if anybody caught this. Nobody was probably watching the game unless you had money on it, of course. But Danny did challenge a call with 30 seconds to go when they're up by 27. He challenges the call. He's pissing the refs. He does the sign. They do review it. They get the ball. They bang a three. It pushed the over-under, by the way, folks. That did change some of the betting stuff. He had no idea. But I literally bumped into him after the game, trying to take a picture with my daughter and my wife, to say, hey, good time at the game. He bumps into me. I turn around, I'm like, bro, the challenge? He's like, oh, the game's disgusting. Had a challenge. We got a guard. He's still manic, and they just beat the crap out of us. It's just, this is who he is, and he knows his team isn't quite where he wants him to be. And on Saturday, that's the prime time. That's the real deal against a really good team in a big time venue. So we'll see how they're ready to step it up. RC, you got something else on that?
No, I was going to say they got to guard. They're going to have to guard this BYU group. I mean, Richie Sanders is a scorer, and everyone knows about AJ DeBanza, but Richie Sanders is an efficient bucket getter, and they're going to have to defend. They better be prepared to defend. AJ DeBanza gets all the headlines and everything else, but you better come prepared. They got multiple guys there that can give you a problem. So if they don't defend, then Danny Hurley's really going to be upset at the end of this game if they don't guard tomorrow night.
Hey, RC, one key thing too. one key thing too is Carabon is a big key to UConn. They want to play through him. They want him obviously looking to score, but as a passer, all those things. He's a big key to their team. And I don't know if BYU has a guy that can take him out because AJ is going to be looking to score. I don't know if they have somebody on the defensive end, BYU, to kind of take Carabon out of the game. I don't know if they can do that.
Well, my question would be the other way around. Who does Carabon defend? Who does he guard?
I think he's a good position defender.
I do, but I think he's going to be positioned on one of those two guys is what I'm thinking, right? I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
He to me looks like from outside, it looks like he's going to be guarding. Like, are you putting him on Richie Saunders? Are you going to challenge him there? I mean, you have to be a position defender. I mean, Bobby Hurley's going to be Bobby. I mean, Danny, is not having it, but he's going to challenge all of his guys. But he's going to have one of those matchups, and he's going to have to play well against one of those two guys. It's going to be his primary. He's going to be the primary defender on one of those two guys.
Yep.
So that game Saturday 7 Eastern on Fox for UConn-BYU. That's played in Boston Garden. Last big matchup of the weekend, top 25 match. Before we get to that one real quick, we will be doing some afters in the next when we wrap up here in about 6 minutes. So if you got any questions, get them in the chat right now. Hang on, we'll be with you afters as we wrap up the show here in the next 5 minutes. So get those questions in the chat. Last big game of the matchup, a big game of the weekend, top 25, Auburn, number 22, taking on the number 1 team in the nation, Houston, Sunday the 16th, 3 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. That'll be played in Birmingham, so kind of a semi-home game for the Tigers. Coach Roberts, I'll let you kind of fire away first with this matchup.
Houston is a team that's always going to be physically, they're going to be very physical defensively, and they're going to be very efficient offensively. It's never going to be pretty because that's not how they play. They're going to try to take you out of everything. If you're going to run a lot of ball screens, be prepared to be trapped and physically guys getting over the top. I think a big key for Houston is, can they find some scoring, consistent scoring with their front court? Tugler is not a scorer. He's a shot blocker. He's an energy guy. He's a lob catcher, but he's not a scorer. Senac needs to be that scorer. Now, I know he didn't score a lot the last game he played, but Sampson said he played the best game he's done since he's been there because he rebounded, all those things. But they need scoring from him. Auburn, I think they're going to get scoring from Hall because if he doesn't score, he's going to put up enough shots to score. So he's going to shoot that ball, Hall. There's no doubt about that. It's going up. Pettiford, he's going to need to score. But the biggest thing we're going against Houston is you have to take good shots. You take bad shots, that leads to runouts, that leads to easy baskets for them, and now they're going to get better offensively. So you need to be good with the basketball. The scary thing with both these teams, you wouldn't believe this, both these teams right now are shooting 28% from the three-point line. Neither team is shooting the ball well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But the one thing about Houston is their opponents are shooting 21% from the three-point line. So they're not going to let you score. If they can't score, they ain't going to let you score either. So it'll be a great matchup. I agree with you on that.
It should be a fun matchup. Tahad Pettiford's got to get going. I mean, he's struggling. I mean, he's not. I mean, he's shooting 28% from the field and 17% from three. And he's got it. You talking about scoring? He's got to figure it out. Houston this year doesn't shoot like last year. I think we were all high on them, and nobody knows this more than you know them. They collectively as a team, it was the best 3-point shooting team that they had. Talking about Houston, and now they've slipped back into what they've been. So someone else has to step up. If Emmanuel Sharp isn't shooting it well, what does it look like for Houston? But the good thing is they have an identity. We know they're going to rely on their defensive intensity. Whatever they get from the offensive end, you're right. Senac's got to be that guy. Fleming's had his moments as well. He's a second leading scorer. I think he's going to continue to play well. But for Auburn, you had your scare earlier against Bethune-Cookman. They've got to come out and figure out a way. But Tahad Pettiford's got to get going. He has got to be more efficient than what he's been to start the season.
You guys mentioned the shooting. I think a big part of this is rebounding. We just saw Purdue win the game, you could argue, because they crushed Alabama on the boards, and both these teams are going to have some misses. Auburn's the rebound percentage is high, but they haven't played anybody really physically that can match up with them yet. Houston historically has done it. Their numbers aren't as great, but that's how they've kind of built their program too. So being able to clean up your own glass, I think, will be big. Just real quick on the coaching piece, and for both of you, but Coach Roberts, go first here. Many coaches told me that 18 inches from the associate head coach to the head coach could be a long distance. Well, this is the first time Steven's going to be playing in a big time game against a Hall of Famer down the other end, and Kelvin Sampson. And how does the coaching piece of this factor at all?
I'll just tell you something quick. It is a difference, a huge difference. When I took over, because Bill couldn't coach in the NCAA tournament, first round, we're playing Howard. I took over, and you get in that game, and it's a 1 against a 6 team. It's supposed to be easier or whatever. I'm telling you right now, I couldn't sleep the night before. When we get to the game, I'm sweating bullets. And then the first 5 minutes of the game, I kept looking at the other assistants going, these dudes are a lot better than what you said they were. These guys are pretty good. So it's a lot of pressure. But I will tell you this, Pearl, obviously he's been there with his dad a long time. You're coaching against a legend. It's going to be a hostile environment. It's going to be a great environment. All I say, even though it's closer to their home, and what he needs to do is just focus in on his team, focus in on what he wants to do, make sure he can communicate that to the guys and those things. But it's a lot harder than what people think, because when you get in that huddle, everybody is looking at you. And if you waver, they're going to waver. So Pearl knows what to do. He'll do a good job.
Good stuff. RC,
No, you're right.
You want to add?
No, nothing to add. I mean, I'm just laughing at what he said, but no, he knows that. I've never been in that seat. I've been next to that seat, and I know, it's a lot easier. When you can relay the information, and ultimately when you're in that seat, you got to make the final decision, and that all rests on you. So it's never easy, but when you get in it and you want to do it, that's ultimately what you're looking forward to doing. So his job was just not to screw it up and lose a high seat, lose the first round like that. He had a really good team, so he just couldn't. No job was just like, man, don't screw this up. Like, Bill, come on, Bill, hurry up and get back here, Bill.
But Coach, I do love the fact that you're turning and yelling at your assistants, though. You're turning and yelling. That's the head coach shit right there. You're turning. You're like, hey, what are we doing over here? We see on the report. What are we doing over here?
Hey, this is what people said to me. They didn't understand that there's pressure, there's expectations from different people outside, all those things. There's no more pressure that can happen to you when you're trying to coach a Hall of Fame coach's team. There's absolutely nothing you can do that you think he's going to say, hey, that was great. That was good. You know what I'm saying? You just feel like,
supposed to do
let me just get through this thing. Come on, guys. We got this. We can do it,
That's funny.
But
good stuff. All right, real quick, we're going to go to afters here in just a minute. Want to wrap the show with a quick toast of the night. So, Coach, just so you know, this is whoever you want to shout out in tonight's across any game, whatever you want to say, your toast of the night, your player of the night, if you will. RC, you go first. Tell Coach, you show Coach how we do this thing, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
How do you not argue tonight? It's got to be Braden Smith and what he did tonight. Controlled that game, stepped up late when they needed it. I thought he was sensational, and the reason why they were, they pulled out, I think, the best win so far and early in college basketball season. So Braden Smith, Purdue.
Oh, cheers, buddy.
Okay, Coach.
I would say Trey Kaufman-Renn. Welcome back, big fella. And they needed you. You came back at the right time, and I will tell you something. He may be the best rebounder in the country, because when he gets his hands on the ball, he is going to get it. And I thought his energy and what he did really, not only Braden Smith being great, but I thought what he did in that game, dominating in that paint, I think that really led them to the victory. So cheers to Trey Kaufman-Renn.
There you go. Cheers to Trey Kaufman-Renn. I was going to be a smart ass and pick Columbia player because Columbia beat UMass Lowell, but I'm going to lay up on that. It is Trey Kaufman-Renn. I have to. You got to co-sign it because, that dude, he hadn't played all year. So my whole thing was honestly handicapping the game from like a betting standpoint. I was like, to bet on Purdue on the road when you're not sure exactly what you're going to get from him. Dude just showed us all I'm a first-team All-American, and here is exactly why. And he said this afterwards. It was a tough game for him to go in mentally to know what you're going to have to push yourself against that team in a certain style on the road and really lead your team to a win. Smith was amazing, and without either one of those guys, they don't win that game. But this is his first game of the year, and that guy showed up in a big way. So, Trey Kopp and Ren, toast to you, my friend, and also for you joining the show. Thanks for watching here on Field of 68, presented by BetMGM. For Norm, Randolph, I'm Dalen. Stick around for Afters in a minute.
We're live. It's the Afters.
Hit the chat.
I'm not getting close to any bear.
My career high on the court is 28.
Welcome back into Afters here in a Field of 68, presented by BetMGM. Norm Roberts, Randolph Childress, myself, Dalen Cuff. Coach Roberts' first time with the Field of 68 crew. Great to have you. It was a lot of fun. We're going to keep it going here. So with the Afters, guys, do we have any questions in the chat? What do we got?
Yeah, so we'll let some of the chat questions kind of filter in here as the chat gets going. One thing we didn't touch tonight that I wanted to get to in our rundown, but obviously with the interview and everything we didn't get to, I want to know who you guys think has been the best freshman so far through our first week and a half of the season. Obviously been a ton of talk about the freshman class. So who's been the best one so far for you guys?
RC, you want to go first?
I don't. You know what? It's hard for me to say the best freshman. I'll say the best for me because I think they've all had their moments. But if I had to say right now, the best performance that I've seen was Michael Brown against Kentucky. I thought in that game, even though it was home, I thought his performance in the rivalry in that game was the best performance that I've seen. There's been so many, but if I had to just right now, just hearing the question, his performance against Kentucky was for me the best performance that I've seen of a freshman against that quality of opponent.
Coach, what you got?
I would say if you ask me, the most consistent guy so far probably would be Cameron Boozer. He would be the most consistent, but I'd have to go with Caleb Wilson, North Carolina. The performance he put on against Kansas, he was tremendous, and I think he surprised a lot of people at not only how athletic he is, but also how skilled he is. He's much more skilled than people thought he was. People thought everybody talked about how great of a defender he was, which he is, but he's got quite a bit of skill offensively. So I'd say Caleb Wilson.
I thought mine was going to sneak in there. It was going to be Caleb Wilson. I thought that was going to be the unmentioned one because I was impressed with his energy, man. Like he was diving all over the place. Like he competed and looked like a leader in terms of his energy and his emotion that you don't tend to get out of freshmen. Obviously, with Darren Peterson across the way, I think he was trying to show that he was, just in that class. But to mention, Koa Pete, obviously, the first night of the season was just was a sublime performance for 30 points and a huge win, and kind of announced his presence to be part of this, showing he is just as good as the rest of this amazing class. So we have had quite a few to pick from, which has been pretty cool, to say the least. What else we got, guys?
All right, this one comes from Sam. It's for Coach Roberts, but RC and Dalen, you guys can answer after. Who needs to step up for Kansas outside of Peterson and to be their true second option?
I would think, I think Coach would want that to be Flory Badunga, but I think an X factor is probably Bryson Tiller. They need Bryson Tiller to be a consistent scorer. He needs to not only score from the perimeter. I know he shot the ball pretty good the other night, but he needs to be able to be a presence inside. And I think him and Flory could be really good together. But I think it needs to probably be Bryson Tiller.
Go ahead, RC.
No, I mean, I don't. It's all, my only question or concern with Kansas is, and I would ask Norm this as well. Do they have enough shooting, you think?
I think they've got some shooters. Cole Rosario needs to make shots, and I think he's very, very capable of. Jaden Dawson needs to be a guy off the bench that can make shots. But you're right. I mean, Melvin Council's got to be able to make a shot. I think Trey White can make a shot.
Yeah.
They need those perimeter guys to step up. You're very right with the shooting.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, Dawson at Loyola Chicago, he played with complete freedom, and he had to be a big scorer for them. I think he's got to embrace this role. When he comes off the bench, he's going to have some opportunities. You got to catch it ready to go, and he's got to knock those down. But there are other guys, Trey White, obviously, and Tiller. I think from the bigger question is just definitely the right answer. What else you guys got?
Another one I got here is about the other ranked team to play tonight, Michigan State. It kind of involves them, and Illinois as well. Who do you think is the second best team in the? Well, I wouldn't call them second best team, but we're assuming Purdue's one. Who's the next team on your list in the Big Ten?
RC, you want to lead this off?
You know what? I'm going to go with Illinois. If I had to pick the second best team right now, I'm high on Illinois right now. I think it's easy to say Michigan State, but I think the higher upside of the two, I think, is Illinois. I think that they could very well be a team that finishes second. I think it's Purdue. After the performance we saw tonight of Purdue, it's hard to argue against those guys. Even though I will say, as dominant as that performance was, they're going to have to get some production. They're going to have to get a third consistent scorer, whether it's Fletcher Loyer or someone else stepping up. They got to get more out of those guys, more consistency. But I think Illinois and what we've seen from those guys the other day, their win against Texas Tech, we've talked about that. But I was really impressed with their performance so far. So if I had to say the second place team, I think those are the top three, Michigan State included.
Coach?
I would probably say it's Michigan because I think Michigan is a team that has great length, very similar to Purdue.
Right.
I think shooting's going to be a key for Michigan too. I think one of the big keys for Michigan is Purdue, the point guard. He's got to play. He's got enough weapons around him and enough guys that he doesn't have to try to do too much. And I think he gets caught a lot trying to do too much with the ball. He's got, like with Braden Smith gets the ball right where it's supposed to be at the right time. Purdue tries to do a little bit too much. And I think if he slows down and uses those guys that he has, because Yaxel Lindenberg is a beast. He's a beast. And he can really score. And seeing him go up against like a Kaufman Wren, that is going to be an unbelievable battle. But the big kid Mara they have and Morez, they've got a lot of weapons and a lot of size too. So I think they're going to be pretty good. So I'd say Michigan.
My only concern against Michigan, against Michigan guys is their three best players play the same position in the sense that what are you going to do? They're starting that lineup, and Luxembourg is playing. I think he needs to be like the number one option, and then now he seems to be taken back and he's spaced out. So I think they've got some things to figure out. I don't think any of us question their talent, and like you said, I think Elliot Cadeau. How do I say it with him? It's I think he has his limitations, and how effective can he be without the ball in his hands? I think right now you're putting the ball in his hands, and that's the way he plays. He's a great passer, but he also has to have the ball in his hands. And guys like that, when you're not because he's not a really good shooter, that's just not a strength of his. And can he get off the ball? If you're going to play through those frontline guys, how effective can he be off the ball or with the ball not in his hands? And that's there's some things I just think Michigan got to figure out. And I think that there's not a coincidence of they're having an overtime game against Wake Forest, who started 2 6'8" guys at the 4 and 5. And though their front line was dominant, they gave up a ton of offensive rebounds as well. They couldn't keep the Wake guards out of the lane. So I just think that they got a lot of things that they got to figure out. And some of that's going to be, do you take one of those frontline guys and have him come off the bench? Like you said, can Elliot Cadeau knock down shots when he moves off the ball? Can you get some more out of Gay and those other guard plays? So we'll see. I just don't think they can be win the league with right now the way they look early.
One thing I would say, RC, think about the Big Ten. God, those teams are huge. Yeah. They're going to be unbelievable. But it almost is like the old Big Ten back in 2000 and 2005, back when I was in that league with Illinois with Bill. They're gigantic. So it's going to be back to the old physical battles in the Big Ten. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say Michigan. I like Michigan's pieces, but I think Dusty's got a lot to figure out and kind of figure out how to maximize some of the talent and maybe hide some of the deficiencies or just make some improvements with some guys through the course of the year. I would lean toward Illinois for basically the same reasons RC said. I think they'll defend well enough. I love their offensive setup. And the experiment that Coach Underwood is putting forward here, I just want to see how it plays out. Like, this is an interesting, recruiting play and how he's kind of built his team. I'm interested to see how it kind of goes, but the raw talent of the players and their pedigree, I think, showed obviously in that win against Texas Tech. We got one more question left here in afters, guys. What we got?
Yeah, we got from KE Outdoor Life. He wants to know, do you guys think Indiana can make a run?
Just to keep it in the Big Ten here. RC?
I actually was going to say Indiana.
Were you?
Okay, Coach, go ahead.
I actually was, because Indiana can really score. They can shoot. The biggest key with Indiana is going to be their inside play. Alexis seems like he's going to be good. He was a backup at Florida. Seems like he could be good inside. The other kid, Bailey, is athletic, can run and jump, but he's thin. So you're going up against some big bodies like we just talked about. We'll see how he battles with those guys. But I'm telling you, Wilkerson, he can really shoot it. And Coach's son, I'm forgetting his name right now. He can really shoot. Tucker DeVries. I mean, they can spread you out. What they did to Marquette, and I know Marquette's got a young team. And he's got really high school guys developing. They crushed him. I mean, they crushed him. They had nothing for him. So if they could shoot it like that and spread you out like that and defend, and I will tell you, Coach Darren DeVries, that guy's a good coach. He's a really good coach. He knows how to get the best out of his team.
No, I won't count Indiana out of it. I just want to know, to your point, with the way the league is constructed, how their front line is going to hold up. I think that'll be the key. I think there'll be a matchup nightmare for some of the teams with the way their ability to spread you, their ability to shoot it. But conference players, it's going to slow down. How are you going to guard, Trey Kaufman-Renn? How are you going to guard that front line in Michigan? How are you going to guard those bigs and the power guards even at Illinois? Like that'd be more of my question. But again, they're going to have some issues guard Indiana as well. But I think they'll surprise some teams with their ability. It reminds me of Alabama tonight. You knock down a few more shots, you win. They didn't tonight, and they lost. But I think Indiana will have nights like that. The fans in Bloomington will be hell of a lot happier than they've been in recent years.
Yeah, Reed Bailey's physical. There's nowhere to go but up right now for the Indiana Hoosiers fans right now, I imagine. But Reed Bailey, obviously, his ability to handle the physicality of the Big Ten, because the A-10, he was able to get a bunch of rebounds just for a little bit longer, a little bit, just a little bit more physically gifted than some guys. But he can pull you away from the basket. If he can make a jump shot a little better than he used to be able to, too, could really change things if he can consistently make a three. But my bigger concern is, how is he going to guard on the other end? How can they can stand up to that side? But we'll see. All right, thank you for joining us for Afters. Coach, phenomenal first performance. Can't wait to run it back with you, RC. You were average at best. I was below average. That's our show. Yeah.